Everyone goes to Paris for the romance. The Eiffel Tower at sunset, champagne on a cobblestone street, lovers walking hand in hand along the Seine, while accordion music plays somewhere in the distance. You know what that is? Marketing. Paris isn't romantic. Paris is a product. And what you're buying when you visit the City of Love is a carefully constructed illusion designed to erase a very inconvenient truth. Paris used to be the city where working people went to war with the government, and the government won by quite literally rebuilding the city to make revolution impossible. Let me explain. For most of the 1800s, Paris had a problem. The problem was poor people. More specifically, the problem was that when bread prices got too high or working conditions got too brutal, those poor people had this annoying habit of building barricades in the narrow medieval streets, blocking off entire neighborhoods, and fighting the French military to a standstill. 1830, revolution. 1848, another revolution. The government kept winning, but only barely, and those narrow, twisting streets, perfect for barricades. Pile up some furniture, cobblestones, wood, whatever you had lying around, suddenly you've got a fortress and the army can't get their cannons through. There's a French saying from the 1968 student protests: sous les pavés, la plage, under the paving stones, the beach. Students would tear up the cobblestones to build barricades and find sand underneath. The phrase became a metaphor. Underneath the surface of the city, underneath the control and order, there's something else. Something free. The French government spent a century trying to bury that beach. Enter Baron Georges Eugene Haussmann. In 1843, Napoleon III appointed this man who had zero experience in urban planning to modernize Paris, and Haussmann delivered. He demolished 20,000 buildings. He destroyed entire working-class neighborhoods. He carved 85 miles of wide, straight boulevards through the densest parts of the city, and he did it on purpose. In his own memoirs, Haussmann wrote that he was proud of gutting old Paris, of the quarter of riots and barricades. He called himself an artist demolitionist. He even demolished the house he was born in. That's commitment to the cause. The boulevards weren't just pretty, they were military infrastructure. Wide enough that you couldn't block them with barricades. Straight enough that troops could move quickly from one end of the city to the other. Strategic enough that they connected wealthy neighborhoods to military barracks and gave soldiers clear lines of sight into dangerous areas. Haussmann didn't just redesign Paris, he weaponized it. So what happened to the people who lived there? They were displaced. Rents skyrocketed. The working class, the fish sellers, the factory workers, the people who'd lived in central Paris for generations were pushed out to the suburbs. The neighborhoods with revolutionary histories? Gone. The tight-knit communities where people organized against the government? Erased. The architecture that made resistance possible? Paved over. And in their place? Wide boulevards lined with expensive apartment buildings, parks, monuments, department stores, gas lamps, everything designed to look beautiful, modern, and most importantly, impossible to revolt in. Paris became a symbol, the capital of a powerful empire, a city where every street, every building, every tree screamed, "We're in control." And that's the Paris we inherited. Here's the thing. What happened in the 1850s Paris is still happening, not just in Paris, but everywhere. We just don't call it counter-revolutionary urban planning anymore. We call it gentrification. In Paris today, working-class neighborhoods like Belleville, historically home to immigrants, artists, and yes, revolutionaries, are being gutted. Not by demolition crews this time, but by rising rents. Luxury wine bars replacing corner cafes. Social housing bulldozed for high-end apartments, and the communities who built those neighborhoods, priced out. Montmartre, once the heart of the 1871 Paris Commune, the last time Paris tried to overthrow the government, is now a tourist trap. The neighborhood where working women fought on barricades is now where people pay €8 for a coffee, with a view of Sacré-Cœur, which, by the way, was built specifically to beg God's forgiveness for the Commune. The church is literally an apology for poor people demanding equality. And now, it's on every postcard. Oh, and it's not just Paris. This pattern is global. In London, Notting Hill used to be where West Indian immigrants lived. Now, multi-million-pound townhouses and film sets. Brixton, same story communities pushed out by developers and foreign investors. In every major city, the story is the same. Working class neighborhoods with cultural identity and political history get discovered. Rents rise, longtime residents leave. The area gets rebranded as up and coming, or trendy, or revitalized. And what's really being revitalized is profit. So, why does this keep happening? To put it bluntly, because it works. Gentrification doesn't just displace people, it destroys collective memory. When you price people out of the neighborhoods where they built community, where they resisted, you erase the infrastructure of what gave the place its character and unique charm. The corner shops where people gathered, the cafes where they laughed and cried, the streets they knew by heart. Then you replace it with something clean, beautiful, and politically fictitious, just like Haussmann did. The romance, the aesthetics, the City of Light branding, it's not just about tourism. It's about making you forget that Paris used to be the city where working people set the streets on fire and demanded a better world. So, should you still go to Paris? Absolutely, but go knowing exactly what you're looking at. When you walk down the Champs, Élysées, or stroll along Boulevard Saint-Michel, remember, these streets were designed to prevent revolution. When you take a selfie in front of Sacré-Cœur, remember, you're standing on the neighborhood where the Paris Commune made its last stand. When you see romantic Paris on Instagram, just know, someone made a lot of money convincing you that's what Paris is. Rediscover Paris. Not because of the manufactured romance, leave that to Emily. Go because underneath all that branding, there's still a real city with so much buried history. You just have to know where to look. That's why I created Sous les Pavés, a solo travel guide for Paris. Not the Paris you see in movies, but the Paris that exists beneath the surface. The cafes, markets, and corners of the city where you can still feel what Paris was before it became a brand. If you want to see Paris with new eyes, the link is in the description. And if you've learned something today, like and subscribe. There's a lot more where this came from.